Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Based on your time, John. Welcome in Salesforce Epics Hour. And today we are going to talk about Salesforce Marketing Cloud Automation Studio. And we have a speaker, Alina, with us. My name is Amit Chaudhary. I'm the Salesforce MVP and the founder of the Salesforce Epics Hour and the organizer of the 5 Minutes in Salesforce Developer Group. You can follow me, Amit_SFDC or Epics Hour. So with that said, I will not take too much time here. So let me hand over Elena for her introduction.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So my name is Alina, and I'm a digital marketer at Deselect, and we are an app for Salesforce Marketing Cloud, which helps marketeers to segment easier. So a little bit about me. So I'm quite active in a Salesforce Marketing Cloud community since I write blogs on the subject. I mainly specialize in data management and segmentation. I'm also a holder of an email specialist certificate, and you can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Alina Makarova, or you can also follow me on Twitter under this name posted here, and also check out our company and for the blogs, for instance, at deselect.io. So yeah, that's it about me. So I shall proceed basically. So today I would like to talk about Automation Studio. So basically what I would like to tell is what is Automation Studio, what are SQL queries, data extract, FTP in Automation Studio, and how to actually configure it in Marketing Cloud, and I'm going to share an Automation Studio use case. So obviously I'm not going to cover all the functionality that you can find in Automation Studio, but I will try to focus on those main subjects. So let's move on. So what is Automation Studio? So it is a Marketing Cloud application that is used to execute multi-step marketing and data management activities on an immediate, triggered, or scheduled basis, basically using a canvas where you can drag and drop different activities to automate your marketing processes. So I'm going to quickly show how does it actually look like. So this is an Automation Studio overview. Automation Studio can be found under Journey Builder in Salesforce Marketing Cloud here. And then you will be redirected to this overview page, where if you would like to create a new automation, you need to click here, and you will be redirected to this canvas, workflow canvas, where you can define your automation processes. But we're going to dive deep into that a little bit later. So let me just continue. So the next thing that I would like to cover is the SQL queries. So Salesforce Marketing Cloud allows you to query the data available within its data extensions and some of its core data through, for instance, data views using SQL queries. So data extensions are basically tables that can contain different kind of information about your contact account or other essential information that can be later used for your marketing purposes. And the data views is basically like a default data extensions that contain information such as opens, clicks, bounces, and so on. And SQL queries help you to allow you to query on this data in order to create an advanced segmentation for this data. But the thing about SQL queries is that you actually need to be able to code in order to use them. So an alternative to this would be using Deselect, for instance, which is a solution, a drag and drop segmentation solution that allows you to create a really advanced segmentation without the need to rely on the SQL code. So you don't need any specific knowledge for that, but we're going to cover this a little bit later. So another important thing that needs to be mentioned in terms of Automation Studio is the concept of data extract. So data extract basically creates a file that you can use outside of the application, outside of SFMC. So data extracts are set up within Automation Studio, and they can be used to export certain key activity metrics such as balances, clicks, conversion, and etc. Um, there are various data activities that you can check out in Automation Studio. And what is important to note here is that you have to actually enable this function for your SFMC instance. So you need to create a support ticket in order to enable this function. Then the next thing is then FTP, the concept of the FTP in Automation Studio. So what is an FTP? FTP is a file transfer protocol, which is an online storage location for files. And you might need to configure it yourself in your marketing cloud account. So how are you going to do this? So I'm going to quickly show it. So under your name here on the right, you have to click on setup, and here you will see under the administration the notion of data management and FTP accounts. And you will need to create an FTP account for yourself. So adding an FTP user. So by clicking here, you have to configure the information to create an FTP user for yourself. So the username is already configured. You have to choose the email address that you need to use, create a recognizable password, and proceed with the next steps. So in the end, the result will look like this. So you're going to have your FTP username, status, email address, port, and some other information. And what is also important, this URL, which is this FTP site information. Coming back here, so what else do you need to configure for the automation that we're going to actually show later today, and that you might be using for instance, for reporting issues in Marketing Cloud, is to actually download FileZilla on your computer to get the access to the FTP from your computer. So how to configure this one? So after you download FileZilla, this will look a little bit like this. You will need to provide the information here on top. So the host would be actually the URL that I've just mentioned of your FTP user, your username, the password that you've created, and the port that you use. And you're going to connect, and eventually you will be connected to your SFMC instance, where you can see the export, import, and triggered information folders with different files that you might use for your automation processes. So that's it from like the functions. No, a quick overview of the functions of the Automation Studio. Now we're going to review an actual use case of Automation Studio, what you can actually use it for. So for instance, you would like to get a weekly report of the files containing the files about the recurring customers, in order to define who are your recurring customers. And you would like to have this file on your computer actually, in order to do some certain reporting later in Excel, for instance. So what you will need to do for this, let's imagine this sort of a scenario, let's say. So you're going to receive data coming from web pages or SFMC cloud pages. So when a person actually converts on the website, the data then comes to the let's call it web lead data extension, and there also it is stored in Marketing Cloud, and you also have in your Marketing Cloud account a data extensions with your actual customers. So you would like to combine this information in order to find out who are your recurring customers. So in order to do this, you will need to analyze this data using SQL, so by writing an actual query, or you can also use deselect as a solution to find out those those contacts. Then we will proceed by creating a data extract, which then later goes to the file transfer, moving through the safe house. So that the concept of the safe house, which protects the data from the for the SFMC, and then it is all transferred to the SFTP, where you can actually export it as a CSV file that we're going to do later. So now let's actually take this whole scenario and recreate it in Automation Studio. So the first thing that we need to do, I'm going to show our essential initial two data extensions that we're going to use. So as I've told, there is a web leads data extension that have this amount of records in it, and we have also customers data extension. So what we need to do, we need to find out the recurring customers. So people who are actually customers and who also submitted, let's say, for instance, a form on your website, so converted basically. So, but now instead of actually writing a code, we're going to use deselect, so the drag and drop solutions, no code solution. So we're going to use it by accessing it via App Exchange. You can find deselect under App Exchange here, and then you will be redirected to this overview page where you need to create a new selection. So we're going to name this selection recurring customers. And now we need to find those data extensions that I've just shown, those initial data extensions. So this is the customers data extension. We're just simply drag and dropping it to the right. And now we need to find the web list data extensions that we drag and drop on top of customers data extensions. Here we're given also the opportunity to create an alias for our data extension, but we're not going to use this. So we simply press save. Now we're given the opportunity to define the relationship between those two data extensions. So we're going to create relationship between those two DEs based on the IDs there as the unique identifier. And we need only those customers that are matching with our web leads DE, and simply press save. So here, the next step would be to create a target definition. So what is a target definition? Is basically our data extensions, our target data extension, where we would like to save our data. So we can actually create this data extension on the fly. We're going to also call it recurring customers. So we can choose if the data extension is going to be sendable or testable, and simply press save. And now we can define which fields do we want to see in our target DE. So for instance, I would like to have the ID, first name, and for instance email in our target DE, and press save data extension. And now we can move on to the preview and press run preview. So the purpose of the preview is to actually show us the first 20 results of our target data extension, to see if we are satisfied with the results. Because if we're not, we can always go back in the steps and configure our selection. So what is essential to note here is that not only does the data is saved in the data extension, our target data extensions, there is also an SQL query activity created in the background, which we are actually going to use in our automation. So now we have to wait a little bit until the preview is done, and then we can simply press run this selection. So now we can see, so there we have 20 records out of the amounts that is calculating now, records in total of their actually recurring customers. So we can press here run. And now we're being brought back to the our overview screen, where we can see that the status is working, basically, since it's creating this this information in Salesforce Marketing Cloud and creating our SQL query activity. So now let's go back to our Automation Studio actually. So yes, Automation Studio can be found here, as I've said, under Journey Builder. And let's start to actually create our automation. So new automation. So we're going to, again, call it recurring customers. And as I've said previously, we would like to have an automation to receive data on a weekly basis. So we would like to choose our starting source as a schedule that we're going to configure. We're going to choose a start date, for instance, from tomorrow, 12 a.m. and here repeat. We would like to choose here weekly and choose, for instance, Monday and press done here. So now if we look back into the slide, so we have to start with our with the query activity. So let's check. So it's already should be done. So let's see if it is actually added here. So yes, we drag and drop SQL query, choose. So yes, as you can see, under the SQL query, we found our recurring customers query, and this is actually the code that was written underneath the drag and drop solution that we have just shown. So let's press done. So we've chosen this one. Now move on to the next step, and the next step should be the data extract. So we're going to actually create a new data extract activity. We're going to give it the recognizing name and create a file name and pattern. So this is very important here because this file name and pattern we're actually also going to use while defining our file transfer activity. So this is important that would be the same as in our file transfer activity. So we're going to press here next. Here it is also important to define the DE customer key. So what is the DE customer key? So now we're going to find out. So now for that, we need to go to our data extensions that we have just created. So maybe update this page. So now I'm using Email Studio to have an overview of the data extensions, but you can also use Contact Builder, for instance. And here, under data extensions, we have to find this data extensions that we have just created and populated, right? So it has 43 records, so 43 recurring customers, and this DE customer key that we're going to use is basically the external key from your DE. So that can be accessed in the properties of your data extension. So we're going to just type it here, press next and finish. Good. So now, so the next step here after the data extract, the information goes through the save house to the file transfer. So let's choose here the file transfer as the next step. Press choose, and we're going to create new file transfer activity. So we're going to give it a recognizable name. So we're sticking with the recurring customers. And here we need to select a file action. So this is what we're going to select. Move a file from save house. So you're transferring the files from Marketing Cloud Secure File Storage location to your selected FTP location. And press next. So file name and pattern, as I was saying previously, when we were defining the same thing for the our data extract, so this should be the same name, then everything here remains the same. We're not encrypting the file or anything. And let's press next and finish. So this is actually the automation as it looks like. So we've done all the steps. So we've configured the SQL query, we've created data extract, and we've created a file transfer activity. Now we can press save. And now we can choose run once just to test this out. So here we're given the opportunity to select which activities we would like to run. We would like to run all of them. So we're clicking on all of them and press run. Here it is important to note that we can choose certain to receive notifications about our automation activity. So we're going to press run now. Good. And here in the tab activity, we can define an email address that we're going to use in order to receive notifications about the success of our automation. So this is quite useful because you won't need to rely on Marketing Cloud all the time to check if the automation ran successfully or if it failed, because you will just receive the notification about it. So yeah, we can see that it is now in progress basically. So it might take some time, and in the end, what the result should look like is that actually when we go to our FileZilla on our computer, so again, connect. Under the import tab, we're going to receive this CSV file, which has already been created actually here. So then we can use, we can save the CSV file on our computer and do like essential operations already using Excel, for instance, that you may need. So actually, this is it. So we've created an automation using Automation Studio, and that's it from my side. I hope that this was useful for you, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Alina, for a great session. I hope this will be helpful for all of our audience. And thank you so much. And I will request everyone, you can watch this recording on our YouTube channel and you can follow us on Twitter. Thank you, everyone.